Hello and welcome to Guns and Gear. Thought I would turn the camera on and make a video about two things that I'm very passionate about, and that's firearms ownership and the decision to use a firearm for defense. Now, for those of you folks that sometimes stop by my channel and watch my videos, it's no surprise when I say that I have many of my videos include firearms. And some of my videos actually talk about firearms as a tool to use for defense. Maybe it's concealed carry or home defense, things of that nature. And sometimes these videos attract people with very opposing views to mine as far as firearm ownership. And when we get going back and forth debating on the comments, sometimes it's hard for me to get my point of view across. Sometimes because of the, it's the character limitation, and I'm typing with two fingers, and sometimes it's hard to understand the intent of a comment that's being made. So I thought I would try to make a video to better articulate my opinion. Hopefully that will be more effective. A video will be more effective at getting my opinion across. All right. Let's get started. I don't think I can, I just can't imagine not being able to own a firearm. I just can't imagine not being able to enjoy going shooting. As far back as I can remember, firearms has been a significant part in my life. And my family, my extended family, many of my friends have all enjoyed shooting, and I have many fond memories of sharing that experience with family and friends. Maybe it's something as simple as just shooting at empty soup cans. Maybe some friendly competitions on who can make a long shot. I've also enjoyed many of the shooting sports, and I've enjoyed hunting, and sometimes just going out and doing some shooting. So I don't really know if I could ever understand how someone feels when they have a conviction against gun ownership. I can understand the points that they try to make, okay? I just don't know if I can ever understand how they feel. Now, I've had many conversations in my life with people that just think all guns should be banned, or at least restricted. Sometimes they share horrible events that has happened to themselves or others that they know. I've had some folks tell me of the tragic loss of a loved one, and for these reasons they feel that guns should be restricted and or banned. Well, my family understands loss. I had an uncle that was shot and killed in his own backyard. And even though no one was ever charged for that crime, my family has always had an opinion that it probably had something to do with his wife's infidelity. But again, nothing was ever proven. I understand what it's like to be attacked violently and have a firearm used against me. I mean, I've had a firearm right up against my face. And believe me, that's not pleasant at all. But I look at things maybe in a little bit different way. And I think that I look at things in a more consistent way that many anti-gun advocates do. And what I mean by that is that I've always held the individual responsible and accountable for the action, and not the object that they may have misused or operated unsafely or whatever. And I think that's the difference between me and many anti-gun individuals, okay? Because they don't seem to apply the same logic to other dangerous objects. Firearms have a they suffer from a great bias in society. Never really quite understood that. Never understood how come people can think one way about one thing and one way about another, even if the other is also a dangerous object. I'll give you an example: the automobile. Now, here in the United States, it's easy to say that many, many more people own automobiles than cars. Now, I know that some folks that live outside the United States may find that hard to believe because they think we're all cowboys in the Wild West, but it is true, okay? And sometimes an automobile is operated unsafely, and it can result in accidents, serious injury and death. Sometimes an automobile can be used as a weapon. Sometimes an automobile can be used in the commission of a crime. But I've never seen the automobile held to the same standard as the firearm. Okay? Now, when its misuse or mishandling or the use in a crime occurs, they hold the individual accountable for his actions. Imagine that, holding the individual accountable. But see, that bias towards firearms, for whatever reason, many people blame the gun. Yeah, sure, there are stories of accidents that occur. And it's hard to hold accountable maybe a child. But I would hold the owner of that firearm accountable for his actions. You know? And many states have included laws such as that. You know, owning a firearm is a responsibility because of its danger, right? And I believe that the individual should be held accountable. Just a short bit on gun laws. There are gun laws out there that are effective, that have a purpose. Most firearm laws do not. They basically are passed to make people feel better, but they really do not serve a purpose in making society any safer. And I'll never understand why somebody would try to impose their will on others as they do with firearms. Okay. Let's see. What else did I want to talk about there before I moved on into defense? I did want to talk about my comparison with cars. I know that I'm going to get comments that it was just absolutely absurd for me to compare automobiles to firearms. Well, I would ask you to look on the website at AAA, because they used to have statistics on the amounts of accidents and injuries and deaths that result from the use of a car, the use of an automobile. So therefore, I do think it is a fair comparison. If you go to like, I don't know, law enforcement sites like maybe FBI or something, they might have statistics on deaths and injuries as a result of the use of a gun. I believe you'll be very surprised when you look at the two groups of statistics. An automobile can be a very dangerous object. But I do not believe that you should be somehow restricted on your ownership of an automobile or a firearm if you handle it responsibly and safely and do not adversely affect others. That's just the way I believe. See, we live in a free society. Now, yes, I can talk to great effect on how owning a firearm is a right protected in our Constitution. Operating a vehicle is a privilege, whereas we should be able to own the vehicle no matter what. Operating the vehicle on our roadways, that's a privilege. So maybe it's not a fair comparison, a privilege versus a right. But still, people will look at me it kind of funny when I make that comparison or try to dismiss it. Well, let's further talk about that comparison. I've never seen anybody being questioned for the amount or the type of automobile that they own. I've never, you know, what's his name? Jay Leno on The Tonight Show. He is known to have just an amazing collection of automobiles. And I think that's just fine. You know, yay team. He's decided to spend his wealth in buying automobiles. That's what he enjoys. And as long as he is responsible and he operates them safely, I don't think it's anybody's business how many vehicles he has, and I don't think anybody should try to impose upon him restrictions or limits on his ownership of his automobiles. As I have said a couple of times, the word restriction. Let's look at the sports car. I mean, oh my goodness, what an evil machine, right? I mean, it has often has a very, very powerful engine that is very fuel inefficient. Gets very poor gas mileage. It is capable of excessive speeds, much higher than the legal limits on our roadways. So obviously, there is no need for a car such as that, and it can only be used for evil. Well, that sounds kind of silly, doesn't it? But see, I've heard the same argument made against the firearm. Well, what do you need with a firearm like that? Why do you want a firearm that shoots so many times? And see, to me, it's just as ludicrous to say that about a gun. If I can own the gun and I'm responsible and operate it in a safe manner, it should be none of your concern. If it doesn't adversely affect you, it's none of your damn business how many guns or what type of guns I own. I believe living in a free society affords me that, even beyond the Second Amendment. Some of my thoughts. I'm sure I'm going to get some outrageous comments, because you see, many times on both sides of the debate, there are cliches, there are talking points, and sometimes when someone is ineffective at defending their position, they'll result to belittling and insulting and things of that nature. I understand that. That actually occurs more in a discussion when using a firearm for defense, at least that I've noticed. Because see, the anti-gun person's position weakens extremely when we begin to talk about the safety and welfare of your family, of yourself. Because you see, if you've taken on the responsibility of the safety and welfare of your family, and you've decided to include a firearm, then you will always have options that someone without a firearm could never have. They just can't get around that. An anti-gun person cannot get around that. That is a basic truth. If you are responsible and you have gotten the training and you have built the skill and you have competence in the use of a firearm and how you can use a firearm in a defensive situation, you will always have options that someone without a firearm can never have. They just can't get around that fact, and it is a fact. You see, when you leave the mall or whatever the scenario you want to talk about, you're in that parking lot and you're violently attacked, your family is violently attacked. The law cannot help you. Okay? And very often, the police is not there to help you. See, that's a lot of things that people say, well, if the, well, that's why we have a police force. You know, one of the cliches that pro-gun people use is when seconds count, the police are minutes away. And it's an effective cliche because, in my opinion, my interpretation of that is not in any means against the police force. We have a fine police forces all over the United States. What I am suggesting is that at the moment of need, at the moment of attack, at the moment that someone is using weapons to try to harm or kill you or your family, often a police officer is not there. They're not going to walk out of the mall with you and escort you to your vehicle. All right. Another crime that gets a great deal of attention is home invasion. You know, we feel like if there's any place that you should feel safe and secure, it should be inside your home. And when someone forcefully enters your home and attacks you, it violates that security, and it is very concerning to society. And if you have a weapon, a firearm, to defend your family, to defend yourself, you will always have options that someone that is not armed could ever have. You can't expect a police officer to be sitting on the couch and waiting for somebody to break into your home. Right? So the anti-gun position, in my eyes, falls to irrelevancy when you begin to speak of defense. See, if you are in that parking lot and you are being attacked and those people have deadly weapons, your options are very limited. You are left to depend upon the mercy of the criminal attacking you. I'll say that again. You are left to depend on the mercy of the criminal that's attacking you. Give you an example. I spoke of home invasions earlier. I was watching a program on the ID channel. It often has different investigation type shows and some court type shows. Well, this one particular show that I was watching was about a home invasion. And it was about a home invasion that resulted in murder. Now the individual, the homeowner, had a very elaborate security system. I mean, he had an alarm system, he had exterior and interior cameras. But one night he came home and he had a lady friend with him, and soon after, 3 men forcefully entered the home. They bound the homeowner and the lady friend, and they basically had their way with the house, right? They obviously were looking for valuables. And at the end, they made a decision to kill the homeowner and the lady friend that he had brought home with him. And that was a horrible event. And because of those interior cameras, we were able to see clips of that just horrific event. Now, I'm not going to say that if he had a firearm, that he could have saved his life and saved the life of his friend, but he certainly would have had more options. Maybe if he had had a concealed weapon and he produced that weapon, it might have scared off the people. Maybe if they were intent on doing harm, he could have used that firearm to protect himself. I do know this. He did not have a firearm, and he was bound and later murdered, along with his lady. So I believe that a firearm, it increases your ability to survive, and survivability is the key for having a gun for defense. right? Survivability. You know, I have smoke detectors in my home. I have fire extinguishers. I got 3 of them. I got one in my garage, I've got one in my kitchen, I've got one in the closet there in my bedroom. And that's not because I think that I can fight a raging fire with these, but I believe that they increase the survivability of my family and myself if we should have a fire in the home. Now, do I think that's paranoid? No. I think that's being responsible. I think that's being prepared. Okay? Often, the word paranoid is used when you decide to carry a gun for defense. I've never quite understood that, but at any rate, I've had people say, well, you just need that to feel like a man or to feel big and tough. You're paranoid. Not the case. Not with me anyway. I can't speak for others, but that's not the case. You see, often I'm without a firearm. I'm not able to carry a firearm at work. And as many of you know, I'm a utility worker in construction, and I'm often out in the field, wherever it's urban or suburban or out in the country, what have you. You know, and sometimes that's at all hours, wee hours of the morning, late at night, and I've been into some pretty precarious situations as a result of that job. You know, often, or I shouldn't say often, but you know, utility workers sometimes are attacked, they're robbed, sometimes they're shot at. You know, do I feel scared if I don't have a gun on my hip? No. No, not at all. Not at all. But when it is legal for me to have a firearm, I choose to have one. And I choose to use that firearm for the safety of my family and myself. These are some of my thoughts I wanted to share. I'm sure this is an extremely long video, and I apologize. But I always thank you for stopping by and watching my videos, and remember to shoot straight on the range and in life. Thanks.